the practice of giving gives you the blessings in order for you to practice morality. Morality is those do's and don'ts. There are in Buddhism, lay people have precepts, rules of morality for lay people in the forms of 5 precepts or 8 precepts. For left-home people, they have novice precepts, 10 precepts, bhikshu, 250 precepts, bhikshunis, 348 precepts. Those are the precepts designed to help you purify your mind. I'm not allowed to explain them to you, even lay people precepts, until you plan to take them, because it's not meant for public domain, only to those who wish to practice these precepts. And they are wonderful. They are, to me, I enjoyed really studying and reading about these precepts because it's full of wonderful stories. These precepts originally were created by the Buddha because his disciples, when he first came, there's no precepts. And then his disciples, when they lived together, they started making mistakes. And that's when he said, okay, for the first time, I forgive you. But from now on, if you violate this rule again, you're on your own. You have to pay your own consequences. So that's how the precepts came about. So I think just between us, I feel like many of his disciples pretended to break precepts, to make boo-boos, so that the Buddha would slap them on the wrist and say, oh, you have to stop it. This is so unbecoming of us. Okay, so unbecoming of you. So he formulated the precepts. That's how it came about, for their own protection. So the original intent of the precepts is for our own protection. So precepts, you could think of precepts as your armor. When you observe precepts, it's like you're wearing an armor. So you're a lot safer. You have this body armor that keeps you safer, makes you impervious to the afflictions and the sufferings of the world. You don't make mistakes. Another way of thinking of precepts is like there are boundary lines, and that's why it's important to know about precepts, Buddhist precepts. Each religion have their own rules of morality, and they're very helpful, but they all are not as useful, as accurate as the Buddhist precepts. So these precepts, the Buddhist precepts, are designed to dispel out the boundaries that if you stay within the boundaries, you're safe. When you cross the boundaries, that's when you get in big trouble, that you are not likely able to recover on your own. When you choose to take the 5 precepts or one of the 5 precepts, we train you. We explain to you what the 5 precepts are, not no killing, no stealing, those things. We go into great details about what they are, and in particular with the objective of helping you, teaching you on the how to maintain them, how to not violate them, which violation are okay, which type of violation that you definitely want to avoid. And the Chinese would like to teach you that when you receive precepts, you should keep them even at the point, you should be willing to keep them to the point of losing your own life. To me, I find it a little bit extreme. It works for the Chinese, works for the Indian, but to me, Westerners it's illogical to us Westerners. It sounds like a cult to Westerners. So I avoid talking about that, because it creates a wrong impression in our culture, in Western culture. And so it's true. It's fine if you have Asians and so forth, and you can tell them that you should be willing to sacrifice your life in order to keep precepts. And when you do that, you create great blessing. That's fine. But I tend to stress more on the recovery. The person who transmitted the precepts to you is supposed to know what they are, and they're supposed to help you. We transmit precepts to you for the express purpose of benefiting you, and you benefit greatly simply by observing precepts. When you observe precepts, that creates so many blessings without having to do anything, without having to give away your money, your hard-earned money. Think about it. You don't even have to give away your money to create blessings. Just be a pure and moral person.
Violating the Ten Commandments creates sin. Then what are the consequences of violating precepts?
The sins is a concept that we don't subscribe to. It's an intellectual concept that is designed to control the masses, to control the followers, control the lambs. But for us, it has to be based on facts. It has to be based on logic as well. Precepts is extremely logical. And so when you violate precepts, you will fall to the hells. You fall to the lower realms. So if you keep the precepts, then you are free from the three poisons of greed, anger, stupidity. Right there, you're pure. So there's some real consequences of your violating the precepts. Because once you fall to lower realms, it's a lot more suffering than right now, where you are, for a very long, long time. The point here is that it's an aid to your practice. And if you're serious about cultivation, you definitely want to practice precepts, the precepts paramita. There's a lot more than I have time to explain to you again. Because, for example, in Buddhism, we have Hinayana and Mahayana. And Hinayana and Mahayana precepts are one and the same. It's the same exact books, same exact records. So the Hinayana, they themselves specialize in studying precepts. Many of them do that. And they make a name for themselves by say, I'm a specialist in the precepts. And for example, in Taiwan, there are a few Taiwanese temples that specialize in precepts, and they're very good at that. I had to go to one of them to learn. I sent my disciple to learn from there. And so that's where I learned from the books, from that's called precept marks. Precept marks are the description of the precepts, okay? The things you can see. Yeah, you can explain to you if a precept against stealing, what constitutes a violation of that precept. It's different for a lay person than for a left-home person, okay? Slightly different. So anyway, so we learn those things. I remember, so the Hinayana, they're very, very rigid. They said, I'd rather die than violate precepts. And I remember I was at that temple, and the general manager of the temple, we have like 40 different monks being together to study precepts. We specialize on studying precepts. That's it. We do nothing but study precepts, recite Buddha's name, and meditate a little. And so one day, because of their reputation, a person who is a novice monk called him up and said, I violated one of the 5 precepts, the non-repentable portion, meaning you violate it, it's extremely difficult to repent. And now I want to lead the home life. What do I do? And the Dangjia says, I have bad news for you. If you violate this thing here, you cannot lead the home life. And when I heard of that story, he told it that story himself, his own mouth. I heard that story, and I said, that reaffirms for me, why is that? It's really nonsensical to me that we monks transmit the 5 precepts to our followers, and we don't teach them properly, including my master's temples. They don't teach their followers about how to practice the 5 precepts. Again, to me, I find it disappointing, because when we give you a Dharma, we transmit a Dharma to you, we have to help you how to practice it as well. Otherwise, it's not complete. So they wouldn't explain how to practice the 5 precepts, just like most temples, when they transmit the 5 precepts, they don't explain how to practice them. And these people violate them, and then they have dire consequences. And to the Hinayana, they said, oh, too bad. Now you ruin your life, meaning we ruin your life, because we transmitted to you in the first place. Because they come back and say, my God, why did you transmit it to me if you didn't teach me how to uphold it and not get in trouble? I didn't know, because you never taught me. Yeah. So And that's a Hinayana. To me, I'm only telling you this story to illustrate to you the Hinayana understanding of precepts is very, very rigid. Because when people violate these precepts, Mahayana has ways to restore, to recover. Hinayana have very limited ways to recover. That's why they can't help you. So, in conclusion, it's very advantageous for you to practice the morality, to receive precept and practice and try to reach the morality paramita. If you fail, at least you should learn how to do it. If you fail, there are ways to help you recover. And even if you can't recover, I finally understood that it's eventually you will recover. Even though you have to suffer a lot first. And we try to avoid, to minimize the consequences for you. That's all. The learning of precepts is never to control you. Learning of precepts is to give you peace and bliss and blessings. It's to benefit you. We never try to control you. We never try to influence you. It's for your own benefit. Everything the Buddha taught, everything we teach you in Mahayana is always for one goal only, is to benefit you. It's very good for you. You have to believe that. As you don't believe me right now, but in the future, it will come back. And you see that everything we do is never outside of benefiting you.
Emituofo, 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 Emituofo.